Dear students, let's start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 31st March 2017. The first article, it's time for Africa. So here we are going to talk about the recent racial attacks against Africans in Greater Noida. Now, as Indians, we carry deep-rooted prejudices and stereotypes. And we divide the things into black and white, money, black money and white money, and black magic. So everywhere we indicate black with evil and white with fairness. So these prejudices also makes us to classify the people into black and white. And this manifests as a racism against the African people. So in this context, Africans are the students, or African community is the largest student community from abroad other than South Asians in India. So India has to adjust itself, or Indian society has to understand the African culture and heritage. Engaging is knowing. So if you start talking to them, obviously you'll understand their culture and you'll understand that they are just as like us. So if we have to break down these stereotypes, the intermixing of cultures, intermixing of colors, intermixing of races, this is the way forward. For African students coming to India, a kind of a orientation. For Indian communities where these African students live close to the universities, a kind of sensitization is essential. And above all, even our state system and state establishment carries the similar prejudices. So sensitizing the police to the concerns of these people is quite essential. And coming to the next article, a cleanup act. So this article talks about recent Supreme Court judgment with regard to the launch of BS4 vehicles. Now the BS4 standards, these are less emissions, they cause less emissions of NO2, SO2, etc. So auto or else auto fuel policy in India, it has given already a roadmap 2 years back. It has stated that by 2020, India has to evolve to the BS6 norms. But auto manufacturing industry was very relaxed about these norms. It is the center need to be blamed for that. So the center has given liberal relaxations when this BS2 to BS3 shift is supposed to happen. So the manufacturers were expecting a similar relaxation for the existing scenario. But the Supreme Court has clearly stated that public health concerns are more important than the commercial concerns of manufacturers. So in this context, we need to clearly state one thing. So the pollution is reaching to the alarming levels in urban areas in India, and immediate action is necessary. So most of the cause are one single major reason, if we have to state, for the pollution, particulate matter pollution, it is the vehicular population and vehicular density in urban areas. So stringent norms are expected, and India has to get itself ready for shifting towards BS6. And the next article is, let's talk about next steps on GST. Now here, already the GST norms are being clear with regard to its rollout from July 1st, 2017. There are few things. In the middle of the financial year, you are getting the GST. So there will be a lot of confusion in filing the tax returns, indirect tax returns by various companies. And the concerns of the industry were not taken seriously by the GST Council. So let's take the maximum rate, GST rate, is stated at 28%. But the permissible rate is up to 40%. The distance between them is too high. It provides for leeway for the GST Council to determine tax rate without even consulting the parliament the next year. So this has to be reduced. That is one of the concerns of industry. And second, there is an anti-profiteering clause, and there is no clarity on this. And what product, what rate will apply? Also, GST Council did not provide for the clarity yet. It means that the pricing strategy, how it has to be determined, is not yet clear. So unless the GST rates and anti-profiting clause are being made clear to the industry, no pricing strategy expected to come up. And compliance norms are also going to get tougher for the services sector. And it has been stated that if a company has multiple branches in different states, and each branch is expected to register separately in all the other states, so obviously it is going to, or else it's going to damage centralized functions or centralized operations a company has to carry out. And the next is say no to say no to the Westinghouse. It is about the recent bankruptcy which is filed by the Westinghouse. You know that Westinghouse has to supply 6 nuclear reactors which are of 1000 megawatts, which are AP 1000 variety in Kovada in Andhra Pradesh. And the finances to it has to be supported from Exim Bank of United States of America. Now the situation has changed in the United States. Westinghouse has filed for bankruptcy, and second is Westinghouse never had a track record of supplying the nuclear reactors within time. It is already building 2 nuclear reactors in China and they are off the track. So it means with the existing scenario, the situation is going to become much worse in India. And second thing is, these AP 1000 variety nuclear reactors, there is no one functional reactor in the world as of now. If China's projects gets completed, these will become the first functional reactors. And their safety record is just on the paper and it is theoretical. Practically, we need to verify it at. And finally, the Exim Bank of United States of America may not be ready to give loan to Westinghouse now for this project now. There are two reasons for this: the bankruptcy filed by the Westinghouse, and second is the Trump's presidency. It is more talking about protectionism. So, for a bankrupt company and for the reactors which are not known to be completed very soon, Exim Bank may not make that particular risk. So that's why the author says that say no to Westinghouse. Now let's get into is Aadhaar breach of privacy. Actually, this is an article in my topic that is governance. Remember this way, Aadhaar is just a 12-digit transactional number. Then why are we worried so much about Aadhaar? So the first article or the first author he talks about Aadhaar is very poorly designed. Let us understand how it is. So there is a difference between a targeted surveillance and mass surveillance. A targeted surveillance is you initiate your surveillance consciously and after receiving some input on a particular individual. It is necessary in the national security context. But the mass surveillance is a character of the police state where the surveillance is not automatically happening and no pre-permissions are necessary. So Aadhaar leads to mass surveillance. And the second is, so obviously mass surveillance will affect the security of the citizens, privacy of the citizens. Now, Aadhaar has a centralized database. So when centralized database is there, breaching of it becomes easy. So instead of centralized database, India can go for decentralized databases with a smart card, how Dubai and UK has been launched. So that's why what we can simply state it as India's security mechanism for the Aadhaar is not foolproof. That's what is the author argues. And let's go to the next. So the counter argument is here we need to understand a word that is privacy by design. It means at very conceptual level, the first thing that is being focused is the privacy of the citizens. So it means IT project shall be designed with privacy in mind. And second is surveillance was never the criteria. Only minimal data has to be collected. If you carefully observe UIDAI, the authority authorized to collect the information, it will not collect the purpose of authentication. It will only collect the logs of authentication, the time when it is being logged. And finally, Aadhaar has its own restrictions on data sharing. It means an officer above the level of joint secretary shall authorize the Aadhaar or any information that is existing in Aadhaar to be released. Remember one more thing. Aadhaar is a random number that is generated. It means by just seeing the Aadhaar number, you cannot profile an individual. You cannot understand his religion, caste, social, or other economic status. So, there are inherent protections in Aadhaar. That's what is the author argues. Finally, what we can say is wherever these social security mechanisms are delivered through biometric or personalized data or personalized information, the security of information, data protection, privacy are very critical. So, India shall have a data protection law and also the right to robust data privacy mechanism shall be put into place. That's what my argument will be. Now, judges choose work over vacation. So, 2 months vacation is about to come in for Supreme Court. Remember that whenever this vacation, summer vacation sets in, which is a colonial practice, there will be only vacation bench will be working. So now, all the bench, almost half the benches they are working, three constitutional benches and one vacation bench is working during these holidays. And it means almost a colonial practice is coming to an end in India. Delhi to extend $5 billion to Dhaka. So a new line of credit has been extended to Dhaka, and we don't need to remember much more than that. Now, I have given the notes over here. Please go through it, and these notes will be available to you at lax.in civils prep. And second thing is, yesterday I prepared how to write a model answer, a question on. I have explained a question to you on that. So that is also posted on the YouTube channel of La Excellence, or you can type it as civils prep. You can see that YouTube channel. You can go through it. Thank you very much.